Really? Hey, I'm Randy Simmons with Ion Arts, and we're going to be talking today about the longest mural in the United States, or at least we think so far. So stay with us. And here I am with Char Downs, and this is her section of the wall, and you have 10 panels as well.
A little over 10.
Wow, and I was just saying earlier that this is such a challenge to be doing 10 paintings. You know, for me, I couldn't do it. It'd be like being married to the work for 4 months to come down here and paint every day.
Yeah, but you look at the size of it, and you've got a different painting on each panel. I mean, just because it's the river doesn't mean it's the same on each one. So it's, if you've come to a point on this piece where, yeah, I can't, what am I going to do with that? Or I've come to a point, and then I can move to another part. I can start painting a tree, or I can paint a wall, or I can paint a boat, or I can go down here and paint water. It's like, it's different every day.
And you can jump around as well and paint different things.
Yeah.
And right behind us is a sketch for a tree. Do you like that stage curtain entrance there? This is a study for a tree, a gesture drawing to start out with, and obviously a tree is going to go here. So do you usually sketch like this when you're painting on these murals?
Yeah, I like to get the basic form in to where it's going to go, because if I don't know where it's going to go, then it makes a difference how I paint the background. I like to paint the background, and then I paint over it, and if the sketch is not right or it goes in the wrong direction, then I've got to paint over it and start again, which I've done a few times with some different things. The island, for instance, it was connected. It was a whole sandbar, and then I thought, well, maybe I'd add a little mud flat or some dry reeds, and so I separated it here for just for interest, just for something different in this big space. Just to add, in fact, there's a whole lot more detail that's going to go in.
The tree really breaks up the space, as you were saying. It's a real nice eye catcher, so to speak. I do want to point out that you're doing winter season on the panels, so your water looks a little different. It's got a different texture to it.
A lot different. Winter is grayer, less reflection. It's more mysterious, I think, and I'm having a lot of fun of just putting my color notes on the wall and finding out where I'm going to go with it.
What I found really interesting is that despite everybody is doing a different season, they seem to, the panels blend very well together from one artist to the next.
Well, that was important. The Ingram said, we don't want just separate. We want a whole river, and we want it consistent. So that was one of the considerations of the blending between each artist as it goes in. When you get down to the middle of the artist panel, then you're not seeing way down there and way down there. You're seeing this artist, so they can afford to be a little bit different. But at that blend point, it has to look like it flows through. It can't just stop at one point and start at another.
Another thing is, I'm sure everyone's using the same colors.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And that always helps.
Yeah, it helps a lot.
Yeah, when the color choices are the same. I've noticed that it's hard to paint on these walls because of the rough surface, and it looks like you really can't get too detailed, but when you back away from it,
it has that Syrah quality. When you go over a part with a brush, it just kind of catches on the rough parts that stick out, and it looks horrible up close in some instances, but when you step back, your eye blends it, so it does look like detail. But it's very hard to paint detail like that, like the guy wires of the boat and the flag poles and things like that. It's very difficult to do. It takes a lot of time.
And you work from preliminary sketches as well?
Well, we worked from a preliminary sketch of the river, which was just a line drawing, which stretched out 14 feet because we had 1 inch was 1 square foot. And from that, we've gone to what we have now. I mean, we put in more detail. We put in foreground. In other words, in the sketch, the foreground was just a line drawing. I mean, it was just a line across the whole thing. But now we're starting to put in rocks. We're starting to put in, of course, the waves coming up on the mud. different things like that.
And there's still a little bit of room to ad lib.
Yeah,
along
yeah, because there's a lot of room to ad lib.
So we're down. Well, I was saying earlier, we're down here at a good time of the day because here about 11:30, it's the temperature is going to skyrocket.
Yeah.
As the sun creeps
black
over,
asphalt,
over the wall.
wall glaring, sun overhead. It really it's starting to get really warm now, and it's only 9 o'clock. The best time to paint is about 5:30 in the morning till 10. You can push it to 11, sometimes 12, depending on the day. If it's a cloudy day, you can still work. But after that, it's like, forget it. Yeah, I mean, you put your paint brush in the paint, and by the time you get it to the wall, it's dry. So it's you just can't. So then you can't come back until after 5, 6 o'clock, and then you can set up. And by the time you set up, the shadows have started coming across. The sun's behind the building. You can start to paint. You can paint till about 8:30. And they've got, actually, you could paint later because this parking lot is really well lighted. So you can see the wall really well. It's just the colors might be a little funny.
Right.
Yeah, but you can still paint.
Well, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. You're on a very tight schedule, and let's go check out some other parts of the mural. And with me right now is Teresa Perry, one of the Lower Town artists who have chosen to be a part of this mural behind Ingram's. And you want to tell us a little bit about your 10 panels, because you're representing spring in your panels. So where'd the idea come from to do the seasons?
Well, actually, we all agreed on that, just to have some kind of theme among the 4 of us, and we thought that would be the best solution to get everybody's panels to work together was to have the 4 seasons.
That's a great idea. So you have springtime. So have your color choices changed from everybody else's?
Yeah, in the spring everything's a lot lighter and brighter. So that's what we're working towards, to try to.
Right. I think it's a great idea. And so working on this scale, how's working on this scale? I mean, this is what an 8-foot wall, and then each section is what, probably 12 feet. I'm guessing?
About 22.
22 feet. Mm-hmm. Wow. So that's a lot of wall space to cover.
It's almost 900 feet if you include all of them, all 4 of us.
900, and so you guys had to do sketches for each wall segment?
Right. We did sketches for, yes, we did.
And I'm assuming you did photographic references as well?
Right, we did. Ingram provided us with some photos that they wanted, certain objects that they wanted in the river scene.
Right, so they had specific boats that they wanted you to...
Boats and dredges and items like that.
Right, and we just started this segment with looking at a detail of one of the boats. Are there going to be more boats? Because I'm seeing this is obviously unfinished.
Right.
And as we look over to our left.
As I go down, there's going to be more boats down in this section down here. Each one of us are doing 3 detailed panels that are going to involve boats and dredges and mostly Ingram's equipment. One of mine's going to have a crane in it, a crane that unloads their sand barges. So.
This is a really interesting landscape you have. I've noticed that you guys are also making use of some of the like indentions in the wall, and in some cases some of the artists are actually using some of the column. And I think you have one at the very end of yours.
Right, I do have one.
Making use of the column.
Right.
So when the mural's finished, the people that will benefit the most will be who?
Ingram.
And you can see this from the road too, as well. I'm sure the general public can come in and look at the paintings. And
there was some discussion about having a day where people could come through and where the public could come through and look at it, but that's up to them. So.
And is this the type of artwork that you do normally? You do a lot of murals, and you've done murals around Paducah.
Right, I've done murals locally here for years, and signed a lot of sign work.
And this fits along your genre of subject matters and so forth?
No, not really. As far as my subject matter for my personal art, I do Christian art.
Okay.
So, this style is a little different than this. Painting murals is a little different than doing fine art. I don't know if you're aware of that, but it's a different technique. It has to be approached differently in order for it to read as an outdoor piece, you know. So.
And plus, your subject matter is chosen for you whenever you're hired
Right,
for a
pretty much,
muralist.
yeah.
And
the customers all gets what they want.
absolutely, they write the check.
Right.
So working on this mural, has this wall been any different than working on previous murals for you?
No, not really. It's a really turned out to be a pretty good surface. I've worked on a lot rougher surfaces in the past, and so it's turned out good. They did a good job preparing it for us and everything.
And obviously, we're at the right time of day to be out.
Yeah.
Filming and for you to be painting.
Right.
What time do you start painting in the mornings?
I usually start around 8 or 8:30 after the coffee shop opens.
That's when the day starts.
Right.
When the coffee shop opens.
Right, and usually, Char's usually here before me. She's an early bird, about 6 o'clock in the morning, but that's a little too early.
Right, and you're working like it's time on two different calendars because you've got a deadline.
Right.
In October, is that right?
October for the completion of the entire thing. Yes.
And then a scheduled deadline each day because the sun is going to come over the wall,
Right.
and that's when things really start heating up.
Right at 11:30, when there's so much glare on the wall, we have to quit because it's a western, and the wall faces the west, and so we have to leave until about 5 or 6. It just and it cools down. You still have a bright light, you know.
Great. Well, thanks a lot, Teresa. Thanks for your input, and we're going to go talk to a few of the other artists, and we'll let you get back to painting. Make sure we get a shot of her easel over here.
A portable studio.
Her portable studio. I'm here with Lady Vantiger, and this is her section of her mural. She's doing some detailing of water. And I've noticed that your season is summer?
No, my season is autumn.
Autumn. I'm sorry, we've already done summer. So we're doing autumn. And you've got quite a bit of detail going on in yours. Looking at your boat that's partially complete, and some of the bushes that I see here, there's a lot more detail than what I've seen in some of the other panels. So what's your take on the detailing and the overall project?
I think that my personal way that I get into a project is that I break it down into parts and I focus on different things, and I actually call that following my bliss sort of thing. When I wake up in the morning to decide what part of the mural I'm going to attack, I think about, okay, what makes me the happiest to think about working on, and that's how I get so detail oriented. I'll pick a section of the other day when I came down and did these foreground bushes, and they're not finished. The darker parts are going to have some wild like sagey green and yellow grasses in front of the bushes. But I had an inspiration photo that I enlarged and taped up on the wall like I have the water one here, and went from there, and that's just how I work. It's sort of the way that I get in and out of my project every day.
So how much time do you think that you put in every week for the project?
It varies. I'm juggling this project with a project in Metropolis. I'm the lead artist for some historical murals that we're doing on the sides of buildings. There's 6 murals, and I'm in charge of all of them. I help develop all of them, and I'm actually painting on 2 of them. And so juggling the 2 schedules is really about deadlines, and it's about the weather. It's about you know, like my team over there sometimes needs my support, so I'm over there anyway, so I'll work over there and then I'll come over here. It also depends on the conditions during the day. I was telling someone earlier that the asphalt causes problems over here. In the afternoon, it's really difficult to work because our paint actually dries on the brush before we can even get it on the wall, because the asphalt reflects the heat. And if it's a really hot day, that causes a lot of problems. So typically you won't see very many of us working on this wall during the late afternoons, and I can work in the late afternoons over in Metropolis. So sometimes I'll be here till midnight or 1 working. They have security here, that's nice, you know, they drive by and check on me. You know, over in Metropolis I don't have that so much, so those are some of the things you have to think of in the practical day-to-day.
So if you're not here, then you're in Metropolis.
Yeah,
working
pretty
on
much,
the
yeah,
murals.
pretty much.
I do want to point out this reference photo that you have taped to the wall. And this, you're referring to this photograph for the waves and how to create water and reflections.
Yes, it's a reference photo, but I'm using it more for inspiration than for exact reference. We don't get to look at the river while we're painting it. You know, the wall's too tall and can't really jump up and jump down all the time. So I'm just using it for inspiration to see the pattern of the wave motions. This blank area is going to be a section of barges. This is the E. Bronson, this boat. It's one of the boats that Ingram chose for us to paint. And I don't know if other artists told you how we're doing a lot of our detail work, but this was done, we started with projecting the image. Did they mention that at all?
No, not at all.
We come down at night, we have an LCD projector, and actually it's my projector, and it's 2200 lumens, and we use it to project the image onto the wall, and then we trace it with a paint marker or actually a Sharpie. And that's how we get the detail of the boat on the wall. None of us are boat experts, we're just artists, and so we have to have something to get us, you know, get that detail, because this is what our client is, you know.
Right.
So
It's really interesting, as I've said earlier, that everybody has a different season, and it's interesting that everybody's murals do go together, that there's a continuity to all the murals. From what I've seen, and that's interesting. You think the colors would change slightly, and I guess they do from fall to summer in the murals, but there's a continuity to it. Even though you've got autumn colors, it still goes with.
well, we're intentionally doing that. We, in fact, Char painted this orange-based tree, and I'm going to be doing a concrete piling that's like a water drainage. It's an old antique one that's worn out. We've got a reference that we took the other day, and I'm going to be painting that, and I'm going to be reflecting some of her colors that she's chosen because it's got metal elements showing through the concrete, and I'm going to be using that as the orange on the piling. That's why I've background this with the dark blue, and I'm making sure that I match her color choices. And she's doing the same. I started with teal, and she's bringing some of my teal into her water patterns. And wherever our panels meet, that's what we're doing.
Great. Well, I know you're on a tight schedule, so I will let you get back to work before the sun pokes out from the top of this wall.
You promise me you'll come back and look at the finished product.
I sure will.
Okay.
I do promise to come back and take a visit when the product is finished.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks for being here. Well, I'm standing here with Keyth Kahrs, and behind us is his mural depicting what season?
I'm representing the summer season, so the majority of my color palette is blues and greens. It's a summer scene, obviously.
Everything's in bloom?
Blues and greens, and I opted to go with a strong blue on the river surface. However, I'll probably blend down some reflected green from the tree line and bring this light blue up to make this more of a feathered or a gradiated surface with ripples and texture and what have you. This is a string dock here, or is it a dock string? This is a permanent facility, and it's located just on the other side of this wall. This building here houses a training operations, people who are training to be crew people on vessels train in this building, and the building to its left is a maintenance facility, I believe. So this is permanent installation on the river here on the other side of this wall.
All right. Right. So you have very specific places that you're putting in to your mural.
Yeah.
As well.
I was assigned this particular detail structure as well as the boat, the Ingram Products boat further down the wall, which was on the river in the late 40s, I think, and the 50s. So it's a historical reference to one of the earlier vessels.
What's really interesting at looking at your murals is that and we've done a show earlier on your artwork, and what's amazing is how your style has transferred over to the murals. Your style of painting has. And looking at the trees and the hard edge approach.
I have intentionally attempting to do more of a posterized effect, more of the hard edge, flat surfaces and large areas covered with smaller details in a hard, kind of a crisp, and some of my colleagues will say a left brain sort of a approach, analytical and methodical instead of just slapping it on and being all blendy and wild and creative. But I think it's a little bit of both. I'm very meticulous about the application of the materials, and that's it. I'm glad you noticed that. I guess it's true. A lot of my canvases in the studio and the gallery are very similar to this piece.
I should point out that we're about halfway through the time frame for having the murals completed. Do you feel pretty good with the schedule, where you're at?
Yes, I'm getting a little bit nervous, and I think I will be down here more frequently than I have been in the past, just to sort of provide a cushion for myself time-wise. I've got until next Sunday to get this particular panel completed, including the detail of this structure here, and then I'll move on to the detail of a vessel that's out on the river further down. And as I move across the wall, I'll be adding detail to the surface, the water surface here. So I feel comfortable with my pace of application, for lack of for a better word.
And you've had about 4 months. It'll be 4 months, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's see, April, May, June, July. Actually, we'll hit the 3-month mark. July 17th will be exactly 3 months. And we've got until October 1st to complete this project. We hope to be done with the actual painting in the first 2 weeks of September, and allow ourselves 2 weeks' time at the end of the month to apply a clear coat.
Now, this could possibly be the longest mural, if not Kentucky, then on the eastern seaboard. Is that right?
We're doing some research into that. We like to think so. It sure would be fun if it was.
What a line on your resume.
Yeah, what a distinction. Quite an achievement, I think. It's just so massive. You start working over here and you look way down there and it's like, my God, I've got all this wall to do. How am I ever going to get it done? And
is there pressure with all the other artists on getting it done? And
well, there's some. Char's been cracking the whip a little bit, and she's been down here more hours, put in more hours time than I have, and I think she's excited and enthusiastic about getting done ahead of schedule. So I think I've paced myself comfortably. That I may step it up, kick it up a notch, and be down here more to get further along on my completion.
Now, in a nutshell, the process to getting this wall ready, the wall was patched. It had holes in it. You guys had to patch the holes and put a primer coat.
Well, a work crew came in and applied a primer coat. However, they didn't pay particular attention to some of the holes. They may have patched larger holes, but we're talking a hole that's a 1/4 inch in diameter and smaller, a lot of which we caulked. We took a caulk gun with a tube of caulk and dabbed it in the hole and smeared it. And I mean, there were hundreds, maybe thousands of holes on the whole 10-panel expanse. And I went through 2 or 3 tubes of caulk. And it just made all the difference in the world. Otherwise, you've got all these big holes. And if you go around and look carefully, you'll see little tiny holes that I'm, over time hope to have covered. And I mean, these holes are like a 1/16 of an inch in diameter or smaller. But it's very, very textured surface, and these holes, they don't fill in unless you really push the paint into the hole. So yeah, we spent a good half a week perhaps filling holes before we even applied our base coat. And we had, our base coat consisted of the sky blue, this light green for foreground and the tree line, and then this color actually we put as a base coat for our river.
Wow, that beige that we see here.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's wet too.
Yes, like you can see, I've just applied some paint there.
And real quick, a final coat for this paint. What kind of a final coat do we have to protect it and the longevity?
Well,
of it?
I couldn't tell you exactly what the product is, but it's a UV protection coat. I believe it's a water-based product. We're going to put 2 layers on, and it's, as I said earlier, it's designed to shield this, protect this pigment or colors from the UV rays of the sun. So we hope in 10 to 15 years time that the sun should not affect the intensity of the colors.
And I should also point out that you painted the top of the wall
Right.
as well, just a little bit.
Right. So you've got to get up on the top floor or on the top of the building to look down on the top of the wall. But the cap on the top of the wall is 24 inches wide. And I've got a tree, for instance, on either end of my 10 panels that extends over the top of the wall, as do some of the clouds. So there's clouds on top that are not visible from the parking lot.
And we're going to come back when you guys are finished and take a look at the final product.
Good, good. Well, we look forward to your visit.
So if you're not done, we'll harp on you.
Okay.
Tell you what a slacker you are.
Well, we'll be done.
So-
We've got to be done. Deadlines, baby. That's what it's all about.
Great. Well, thanks, Keyth, for
Thanks,
being on
Randy.
the show again.
Thank you.
And I believe that does it for us.
Good, good.
Great. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Get to paint.
All right.
And so that wraps it up for the longest mural in McCracken County, or is that Paducah? No, it's North America, actually. Longest, it does get larger. Every time I said it, it's gotten bigger. The largest continuous running mural in North America. There we have it. We're going to come back in a few months and we're going to check out the progress, and maybe Keyth has got his part finished. We'll see. All right, take care.